We will get started in just a minute or two as attendees are still continuing to join us. I wanted to mention one bit of housekeeping for you all, and I'll repeat this at the end of the presentation. So if you think of questions throughout today's presentation, please feel free to post these questions at any time during the presentation. We are going to answer these questions at the end of the presentation, but do not feel like you have to wait until the end to ask them. So you can post your questions in the question pane on the control panel for the webinar. And if you want to direct your question to one of our presenters specifically, please note that presenter in your question. Otherwise, we're going to do the best that we can to determine who might be able to best address your question at this time. So again, I'm going to mention this at the end, and again, we'll get started here in about a minute. Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us today as we take a look at custom deck design with Vectorworks 2011 and DeckWorks Outdoor Living by Trex. My name is Eric Gilby. I'm the Landscape Industry Specialist here at Nemetschek Vectorworks, and though my role in the company is specific to the landscape industry, the presentation we're about to see is not at all restricted to landscape professionals. In fact, today with us we have a few distinguished guest presenters to give us a comprehensive look at DeckWorks, which is a fabulous plug-in tool that utilizes Vectorworks functionality and the Trex products to allow designers to create, model, and present their ideas for decks, which would in essence give them the ability to dream in 3D. We're going to start today with Mel Karlson. He's a senior marketing manager with the Trex company. Mel will speak on how Trex became involved with the development of DeckWorks and how we can also expect to hear from Trex about their excitement in this new but strong relationship. We also have with us today Lee Barwick, the president of DesignWorks. DesignWorks is a company that brings years of experience in selling building decks, and just as they have great relationships with Nemetschek, Vectorworks, and Trex, they're now using this experience and relationships to further develop, market, and sell a great plugin software solution that we're calling DeckWorks. So this is used for designing decks with the Trex products. So completing our presentation today is Paul Lafrance, the founder and CEO of Cutting Edge Construction and Design. Aside from running his own design build company, Paul hosts the upcoming HGTV show called Decked Out, and as a user of DeckWorks, Paul will share some of his examples of how the application has helped him in creating beautiful customized deck designs and show how examples of these designs were implemented in making the customer's dreams a reality. So with that, let's get started with Mel Karlson. Mel, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Eric, for inviting me in for this great opportunity. Before we get started with the actual demonstration, I just wanted to take a moment to provide a brief background on the Trex company and then why we developed DeckWorks. Trex company was founded in 1992 and is headquartered in northwestern Virginia. Our 2010 revenue was $317 million. You'll find us traded on the New York Stock Exchange under TREX, and our North American market share is approximately 35%. We're currently distributed in 20 countries. Since 1992, over 1.2 million decks have been installed using our products. We have an annual capacity of 108 million square feet with factories in Fernley, Nevada and Winchester, Virginia. Most of all Trex production is made from 50% post-consumer polyethylene and 50% wood waste. The plastic waste stream is made up primarily of consumer bags and pallet wrap, recycling 1.3 billion consumer bags per year. To give you a perspective, it takes up to 100 plastic bags to make 1 lineal foot of Trex decking. The wood waste stream comes primarily from manufacturers of furniture, hardwood flooring, and pallets. We reclaim approximately 300 million pounds of wood waste annually. And again, to give you a perspective, it takes about 1 pound of wood to make 1 lineal foot of Trex decking. If you're not familiar with Trex products, in addition to great aesthetics and design flexibility, some of our key benefits are there's no splintering, no rotting, and they're stain and fade resistant. There's no splitting or warping. They're resistant to insect and UV damage. They have excellent workability, and they're code accepted. In the interest of time, I'll just touch on our decking product offering with Trex Accents, our bestseller, Trex Escapes, our low-maintenance PVC offering, and Trex Transcend, satisfying the highest performance segment of the market. Speaking specifically of Trex Transcend decking, Transcend comes with a 25-year fade and stain warranty, has a 95% recycled content, comes with a full assortment of profiles, has the same great workability as Accents and Escapes, and is complemented by a full range of railing. Here's a close-up of one of our newest tropical colors, Spiced Rum, and some photos of the project used in some of our 2011 advertising campaigns. Trex developed DeckWorks because we recognized a void in the market for the professional desiring a tool to design outdoor living projects in a photorealistic 3D rendering. There are standalone outdoor living programs available in the marketplace, but largely their strategy is to populate the software with multiple brands that are basically indistinguishable given their rendering quality, which is in conflict with our strategy as a category leader. We also recognize DeckWorks as a leader in their category and discovered their users were asking for such a tool. So in the end, all roads pointed us to creating a plugin that leverages the superior functionality and quality of the DeckWorks platform to provide the user with the opportunity to design and present remarkable outdoor living spaces. Thank you all for your attention. At this point, I'd like to turn over the controls to Lee Barwick, President of DesignWorks, the company we commissioned to develop our plugin.
Thanks, Mel. We understand that not everyone can truly visualize a 2D floor plan, so by being able to offer a customer a photorealistic rendering really goes a long way. The customer can visualize their completed project before the project has ever started. DeckWorks also offers the Trex lighting, Trex furniture, and this summer will also include the Trex Rain Escapes product as a free download. Media drives the aspiration. Software provides a visual tool that brings the dream alive. The advancements in material and the equipment have facilitated the execution of the designer's vision. Let's go ahead into DeckWorks and see what I'm talking about. DeckWorks allows you to draw on your own time as well as directly in front of a customer. So by selecting the Framer tool, we can quickly sketch out the exterior of the deck. I'm going to type in 20 feet, come back forward 10 feet, and we can either type in 20 feet to come back across or hover over our smart point and finish up our design that way. Within seconds you'll see our frame, which is represented in 2D in this view, is actually a 3D frame as well. It's an intelligent object, so you can switch between 12 inches on center joist, 16 inches on center, and 24 inches on center as well. Now we're going to select the DeckWorks Rail Creator and select the inside of the frame in the sections that we want our rail to appear, and double-clicking to end these rail sections. Once the rails have appeared on our frame, we can select our Beam Creator tool and locate the 2 points on the front of the deck, creating our beam, and simply cantilevering the beam back 2 feet. As you can see, within a matter of seconds, we were able to create a three-dimensional deck design for our customer. Once the deck's created in 3D, we can select our deck frame and actually modify any options. Located in our Object Info palette, we can select Decking and Trim. This is going to allow us to select our product type. We're going to select Transcend, and we're going to change our color from Vintage Lantern to Trex Treehouse decking. You can also change your decking direction from diagonal to reverse diagonal to straight. You can select a 1, 2, 3 board border or keep it as none. You can also select a trim color of all the Trex product line trim, as well as cedar, epay, and pressure treated. After you've selected your decking, we can select our rail properties and go ahead and modify our rails. We're going to keep the rail section as a Transcend rail. We're going to change our top cap to a pyramid cap. We're also going to change the baluster type from square to architectural. you'll actually notice the drawing will live update and we now have architectural balusters. Now the customer wants a little bit more design inside of this drawing, so we're going to change the top and bottom rail from the white to treehouse, complementing our decking. Once we've made these changes, we can go into OpenGL and simply rotate around in three-dimensional, visually being able to see all of our changes. Now if you get into a situation where the customer does not like an option, for an example the top and bottom rail, they prefer to have it white, we can simply go back in our object info palette and select white, and our drawing will automatically live update for us. This is a great example of how fast and easy you can use the DeckWorks tool to draw directly in front of a customer, making sure that their perfect deck has been designed for them and they fully understand what you're going to be constructing. Now starting a new file, we're going to draw a multi-level deck with a set of steps. So just like we did in the first example, we're going to quickly sketch out the exterior of our top deck, and just like we did in the first one, we're going to do a 10 by 20 deck and go ahead and close it off. Now we can keep our framer tool that we had selected just now and draw our second frame. We'll come forward 10 feet, go across 20 feet, and once again close off the second frame. Now we're also going to add in a set of steps with the DeckWorks Steps tools. Once you select the Steps tools, you'll notice that right now if you zoom in, we have control of the bottom left of the stairs. In the options up here you can actually change your justification. So we're going to select the center justification and apply this to our frame on the inside of the frame by clicking once to insert and a second time to choose the proper rotation of the set of steps. Once the set of steps are on our screen, we can go back and grab our Rail Creator tool, start at our first point, and double click to the inside of the rail. Once we've created our first rail section, we can move along to our second by clicking on the inside of the frame once again and double clicking on the end, and we'll go ahead and move over to the other side and create one more rail section. Now that we've added in our rails on our top deck, we're going to switch to a left view so we can view both frames at the same time. Now selecting the second frame, which is going to be our lower frame, we're going to go up into our frame properties, and this is going to allow us to move the frame up or down simply by selecting deck step down, and we're going to go to one rise. And you'll notice that this moves the lower deck down one rise. Once our lower frame has moved down, we can rotate back up into 3D, and I'll show you some options on our stairs. By selecting the set of stairs, we can look up inside of our object info palette, and we're going to have several options here. Currently the top of the deck is 10 feet, so if we change this to 8 feet, you'll notice that it will change the amount of steps required to reach grade. You can also change the step width. We're currently at 4 feet. If you wanted to change that to 5 or 6 feet, you could go ahead and make that change there. Now we're going to select landings. This is going to allow us to add in a predetermined set landing that we've already designed for you. Currently we're looking at a square landing. We can also change this to a turn landing, which is sometimes referred to a kite landing, but it's on a 45-degree angle. Currently our step location is to the left. You can also change this to the right. Rises from the top of the deck is 5. If we change this number for an example to 2, it's going to remove 3 steps from the top and apply those steps to the bottom and also adjust the location of our landing. Now by rotating this around and zooming in, I'll go ahead and render this in OpenGL, and you'll see that these sleeves actually do connect with the top rail. As well as we can visually see that the lower frame is exactly 1 step lower than the top. Now we're going to go ahead and open one more file, and we'll move into our third and last example of the tool. We're going to start with a pre-drawn house. Once again, we're going to zoom in so we can see the rear of the home and select our DeckWorks framer tool. Instead of typing in our dimensions, we already know the dimensions of the home because that was pre-drawn. So we're going to simply click on all the endpoints, and then we're going to move out into the backyard 16 feet. We're also going to come back across the home parallel and go ahead and end our deck shape. Now that we can see our deck frame, we're going to make several modifications. The first one is we're going to select our DeckWorks curved rail tool and select Create Arcs in our Object Info palette. Once we've selected Create Arcs, we'll be able to select any point on the deck and move it in as well as out, modifying our shape. Next, we're going to add in a set of steps. So once we select our DeckWorks steps, we can zoom in to the point where we want to insert our steps, click to the inside of the frame, rotate our steps, click a second time, placing our stairs into our drawing. Once the stairs are inserted into the drawing, we're going to have several options here. We can add landings, move and add rails, but what we're going to do in this is we're going to change the stair width from 4 feet to 5 feet. Once we change the width of the stairs to 5 feet, you'll see the drawing update. We can also adjust the height of the deck. It's currently at 10 feet. If we decide to make this at, for an example, let's say 11 feet, it'll adjust the amount of steps required to make it reach grade appropriately. We can also select landings. Once we select the landings dialog box, we'll be able to add in some preset landing types. The first one we're looking at is the square landing, which is a 5x5 landing. If we modify our stairs to 4-foot width, it would be obviously 4x4. We can also select a turn landing, which is sometimes referred to as a kite landing, but at the end of the day it's basically a landing that's located on a 45 degrees. Your stair location will allow them to go going down the steps to the left as well as to the right. So by selecting right, you'll see that the stairs will readjust themselves to face the other direction. I'm going to go ahead and switch those back to the left because we want to be able to walk down our deck into the backyard. Now that we've oriented our stairs in the correct direction, you can also change as rises from the top. So we currently have 5 steps to the top of the deck. By changing this number, for an example, to maybe, let's say 3, it's going to remove 2 steps from the top and place those steps on the bottom and relocate our landing for us. Now that we've got our stairs to where we want them, we're going to go back and grab our DeckWorks rail tool and start adding in our rail. So we're going to click to the inside of the frame and go ahead and double click to the inside of our rail, and then we can move on to our next location. So once again, we're going to go to the inside of the frame and click once, and then double click here at our endpoint. Once we've created that rail section, we'll zoom into the other side of the screen and add in our other straight section. Now that our straight sections have been inserted into the rail, we can grab our curved rail tool. With the curved rail tool, we can select our start point on the curve, and then our next point is going to be at any point on the inside of the frame along this arc. It does not matter where you select. It will automatically adjust and calculate the radius for you, and then we'll double click on the other posts. Once we've inserted our curved rail section, it'll take a few moments to appear. We'll have our rail section inserted. Lastly, we're going to go ahead and grab our beam creator tool, and we're going to apply our beam into this drawing. We can still go back and select our frame if we'd like to and make any adjustments to this drawing that are needed. So now that we have the deck on the pre-drawn house, I'm going to switch to my DeckWorks model, and I also have a preset view here, and we'll go ahead and render it up in Final Quality RenderWorks, and we'll be able to visually see what this deck looks like that we've just drawn. As the drawing finishes up here, you'll see that the deck that we have drawn is now placed on the home. We've added in some grass and trees located on the left side as well. Some of the other benefits to this DeckWorks plugin, you can actually add in several different Trex products. Trex now has a outdoor lighting products that include cap, post, riser, and some downlights that allow you to actually add in lighting. So if you wanted to do a nighttime rendering, you could show the actual lightings and kind of set the tone and the mood for the customer. A lot of people will really appreciate that. Trex also has Trex furniture, which you can add in. I believe it's 29 different pieces of furniture, and they're actually in 4 different styles. And there's several different textures that you can apply to those as well. So you can simply go to your resource browser and drag and drop all these lights as well as the furniture directly into your drawing. And they act as symbols, so they're very easy to use. You can use them when you want to, and you don't have to use them when you don't need them. You'll also see with this rendering that I took advantage of several landmark features directly inside of the DeckWorks program. When you go under your View tab up top into your lighting options, you can actually set your latitude and longitude as well as the date and the time of the day, and actually show a customer what something's going to look like in their backyard. There's always that backyard that gets a lot of sun later in the day, and the customer's looking for some type of shade. So whether you're designing a custom trellis or pergola or gazebo for the job, you'll be able to show the customer that this will provide the shade that they need. You'll also see with this, we're accurately showing the shadows underneath of the deck. You can see the shadows casting back. And if you look real closely between the pickets, you'll actually see the shadowing on the deck. So hopefully with the tools that I've shown you here, with the DeckWorks product, you can see how fast you can really take a customer's idea, bring it from 2D into 3D, and get the customer more involved with the project. We started off this demonstration on the actual plug-in part talking about how people have a hard time visualizing 2D floor plans, and once you can supply a customer with a photorealistic rendering, it goes a long way. People get excited about their projects. Projects become larger because they can now visualize what things are going to look like. And at the end of the day, there's no miscommunication between the contractor or architect who's designing it and building it to what the customer actually gets at the end of the day. And it just creates a real excellent experience for everyone that's involved. So let's go ahead and take a look at a few pre-drawn renderings with the DeckWorks product. This is a nighttime rendering with a covered porch area as well as an open deck, bench and planters. This is an example of a nighttime rendering with the actual Trex lighting. You can see the lights on the top of the cap pieces all the way around the exterior of the deck. And the last example is the same deck at daytime, but from a view from the backyard, viewing the home with obviously the lights turned off. At this point, I'd like to hand it over to Paul Lafrance to talk about how he uses DeckWorks in his business to design and some of his real-life experiences in the industry.
Hey, thanks, Lee, and thanks for having me on here today, guys. Lots to talk about, lots of life experiences to share for sure. But first, I'll start with, hey, who the heck am I? Obviously, my name is Paul, which you know, and I started cutting-edge construction and design 15 years ago as a 22-year-old, very green kid. And what drew me to the backyard was actually more the musician in me, because I felt like that was the area where I could be the most creative, and which is true right up to today. I've got 4 daughters, and I haven't got the time for music that I would like, but decking has been my creative outlet. And what made that whole journey interesting over the last 15 years is that taking that musician side of me that loves to create that emotional response out of a backyard, which we'll talk about a little bit further into my chat today, is the fact that that creating that emotional response is actually what kind of drew us to being noticed from HTTV, and putting my face on the map, as you can see in the picture here. That's a shot of me and my fearless crew, looking very mean and ready to take on anybody. That was a fun day. So I think what I'll do, like I said, I got some stuff to chat about, but I'll take you through a slideshow of some of the shots that we did this past year. Some of these are projects we did on the show, some cool before and after shots, and just some other fun projects that we've done over the years. And yeah, so I'll give you a bit of the backstory. I started cutting edge when I was 22 years old, and even as a kid, I always had a great interest in architecture and design. But as a musician, what drew me to the backyard was the fact that it was an area where I felt I could be the most creative. And I had found that backyard design had been up to that point, and really up to now as well, was really just utilitarian at best. And so I love the idea that I could be creative, that I can explore the boundaries of design in a backyard. So that was the very beginning. I got a chance to work with some really amazing artisans over the years, particularly in an age where the artisan has kind of been pushed to the side. But for me, there was something missing. There was an element to this that was missing, and I'm kind of a deep thinking kind of guy, and I was like, there's something missing to this. There's more than just building cool projects, and what is that element? And I'll never forget one day, this was a real kind of monumental change in my thinking that really affected my company, and actually it was really what led to the whole TV show thing. And it was this one experience. I'm sitting back one day and I'm looking at one of the projects we had built. This is a number of years into the beginning of Cutting Edge. And I was working with a friend of mine who was one of these artisans I mentioned. But the guy also happened to be a war veteran, and what made that cool is that this guy had some unique life perspective in a very positive way. I mean, he'd gone through a lot of stuff, but I tell you, man, this guy had a unique insight on the world and on people in general. And one day I'm looking out at this project, and I'm like, dude, what am I doing out here? Is there more to this? Am I just throwing sticks of wood together? And I'll never forget, grabs me by the scruff of my neck and pulls me close to his face, and he says, Paul, let me tell you what you're doing. You are creating places of rest for people in a world that's gone crazy. And a light bulb went on in my head at that moment that hasn't gone out ever since. We live in a culture that moves so fast. It has never moved faster than it moves now. With all the technological advances that we have, as a people, we've never been more stressed out. I think most people feel like they're, driving in a minivan down the highway doing 200 miles per hour with the doors flying off the side. There's a sense of feeling out of control. So there has never been a greater need to have a place of rest. So what makes that interesting for me is I can now take those cool design elements and satisfy that creative side of me and push the envelope of design. But now I feel like what's being introduced to people is something that's got real, true value. This is able to say, look, in an age when going to the cottage to recuperate from the stresses of life has become a thing of the past, it's time and money being the obvious reasons for that. For me to be able to show people, hey, you can now walk 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet off the back door of your house into an oasis, a retreat, an escape. Pick your keyword. It has value now that's beyond just something that's sticks of wood assembled together for a practical purpose. This is now the ability to create an outdoor escape that's going to allow people to breathe in and out for maybe the first time in a day. Now that engages me, and that's really one of the premises of the show as well. Is that taking what I've been doing over the years was kind of been picked up on, and then they said, hey, let's translate this into this kind of unexplored genre, because again, as I mentioned before, the decking world really was kind of from a landscape design perspective, and I know a lot of people listening today are interested in this DeckWorks program that we're talking about because of that being involved in that particular field. But the deck has always been kind of an add-on. I've always just seen it being an add-on. As here's the square box in the corner. We got very cool shapes going on in the backyard in different places and different emotional feels. But the deck always seems to be this really square box afterthought. So that's what inspires me to say, hey, this is where I'm going to pour my time and energy into, because hey, I love taking those interior concepts and bringing them to the outdoors. We expect much from our homes. We want our homes to look awesome. We want them to have we want to see flows of traffic and open concept and in unique angles and things that just have a cool creative feel that create an emotional response. But for some reason that's been missed in the backyard for years, and particularly when it comes to the deck. So I love the fact that what this show is going to do is allow me to expose that to people. But seeing something on television and then seeing it in reality for how it translates to them is what we're here to talk about. And so, in the early days of cutting edge, I incorporated, three-dimensional graphics into my designs to be able to show people. And the reason I bought into this is because, hey, the psychology of it is very simple. A picture is worth 1,000 words. And for people to understand and get a visual of what's going to be built for them, what's being proposed, suddenly removes the fear factor completely. And that has value to people. Not only is it removing if people have a hard time visualizing things, it's taking that problem right out of the picture. Now you're going to know exactly what it's going to look like. But it also removes the stress of the project because, I don't know, I've been working with people for a long time, man, and there's a real tendency for people to, particularly when there's a lot of money on the line, hard-earned money being put into a project, to feel stressed out. And so I find that the minute I started incorporating 3Ds into my design process, man, that just really alleviated a lot of stress for people because there was now no longer a question of what something was going to look like. So, but here's where it got interesting. In the beginning of December, I met Lee Barwick, and I had already known Mel, and we had met at a Trex conference in December, and I got introduced to DeckWorks, and I tell you, this is what it did to my old program. It made my old program look like it was, crayon drawings on a napkin. That's how amazing this was. I was so impressed. The idea to be able to show what I was showing before, but with like photorealism, was a mind job to me. And I said, man, this is something I can definitely incorporate. And particularly since my entire plan right now with my company is to take what I've been doing locally in the Toronto area, because we're from up in Toronto, north of the border, and be able to design for people across North America. This is what I want to do. This is what I wanted to do for years. Because for me, it's not just about getting design contracts. For me, it's about being able to take that psychological value and offer it to people. To be able to say, look, when you transform your backyard space, it does so much more than just adding on an addition to your house or something along those lines, because of the fact that we have, as human beings, an inherent need to be outdoors. There's something about being outside that soothes, that calms. And for me to be able to take the philosophy of how to incorporate that into the smallest yard or the largest yard, it doesn't matter. I get just as much of a thrill transforming a tiny, postage stamp backyard as I do transforming a massive estate. And sometimes the smaller ones are more of a challenge. So this is something that translates to everybody. I mean, anyone who has a yard, you can transform that space into an oasis. I don't care. I'll take on any challenge when it comes to that. And so, because we're setting up our firm to be able to be across North America, this particular program has got huge value, and people are going to see it. They're going to understand that this is what's possible now. You can get photorealistic renderings, and so for anyone who's out there who's in the industry, who particularly gets the concept of working in the outdoors, whether you're involved with decks or whether it's landscape, whether it's stonework, it doesn't really matter. This is an exploding market. There are more and more people that are buying into the staycation, that are buying into the retreat, that are buying into the concept that pouring money that you would have spent on a cottage or even going on a vacation can be poured into your yard. That's something that has true everyday value for you. I mean, it's a revolution, man. This is gaining. This is like a freight train gaining speed, and it's only going to go faster. And personally, I'm thrilled about it because for me, it's allowing people to take a breath. So it's more than just hopping on board something that's hot. This has got something that's value for me. So I am using DeckWorks across North America, and the value of it it speaks for itself as far as I'm concerned. And I think it will for anyone else that's out there. This program is absolutely, it's fast and easy to use, and it paints that picture very clearly and in a way that I've never seen before. So yeah, I think that's pretty much. I can talk for hours and hours on the concepts of design and be thrilled, but you'll probably all be bored with me by then. So thanks for listening, and I'll pass it back over.
Wow, thank you to all three of you for what we've just seen. We do have some questions that have come in, but I'd like again to encourage you, our attendees, to post any questions you may have about what you've seen. And you can post your question in the question pane on the control panel for the webinar. And if your question should be directed to one of our presenters, again, please note that presenter in your question. You'll see the ones up here on this slide as to who you can address them to. Otherwise, we're going to do the best to determine who best can answer your question. So while we wait for some of those questions to come in, I wanted to follow up with some other things for our audience. And that's being the new webinars that are coming up here in the next few weeks. So you'll notice that we have some recurring ones like Meet Architect, Meet Landmark, and DeckWorks Service Select webinars. And but we also have some unique webinars, such as next week's webinar on managing plant data in the DeckWorks Landmark. So please visit our website at DeckWorks.net/news/events to see a list of those webinars with the links that will get you to them to register. And then also, speaking of Service Select, this graphic kind of portrays some of the benefits that the service provides. So I'm not going to go into huge detail on this, but depending on how you use DeckWorks, you may decide that one of these reasons alone is enough to opt in, and collectively they make all the VSS kind of a must-have service. So as you see here, we've got opportunities for free upgrades, the best price is guaranteed, discounts on training and other services, VIP access to symbols, textures, libraries, and more, and exclusive on-demand training, as well as priority technical support. So whether one of those kind of suits your needs and what you might have been looking for in considering DeckWorks, we certainly want you to kind of take a look at DeckWorks Service Select and see if that's a good option for you. And then also, related to that, we have a DeckWorks Service Select situation where we've got 50% off of our product upgrade. And before I mention that, I should say that this Service Select option is optional. I mean, a lot of people look at this as a subscription and wonder if they really have to do it in order to make this work. Now, you don't have to. It's certainly optional. And right now we have that 50% off of your current your product upgrade to be able to do this. And so if you have other questions, you want to sign up for a webinar on Service Select, you want to go to www.DeckWorks.net/events and register for this DeckWorks Service Select webinar. And again, they occur every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And also, you can contact your sales rep if you're within the U.S. At 888-646-4223 or sales@DeckWorks.net with any of those questions. So let's go back to our questions here. Again, I'm going to pull up this screen so that you see who you may be able to ask your questions towards. And one of the questions that we've kind of anticipated has come in, and that's how our audience can contact us. Lee, can you take care of this one? Because it's going to revolve around your company quite a bit. So why don't you go ahead and take this question?
Thanks, Eric. If you have any additional questions, you can reach us directly at www.designworkscompany.com. You can also phone in at 1-888-317-8426. If you have any additional questions on Trex products, the DeckWorks product, or anything with Paul, their information is located on the bottom of the screen. Let's go ahead and take the next question.